Let's get right into it. Number 10. Breakfast is the most important meal. Ah, yes, the sacred breakfast. The holy grail of morning routines. The thing every cereal commercial has hammered into your skull since you were 5. According to the ads, if you don't start your day with a bowl of cartoon-colored sugar pebbles, your brain will simply shut down and you'll forget how to operate doorknobs. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, they chant. But here's the creepy little secret. That phrase was literally invented by food companies trying to sell bacon and cereal. Yeah, not a medical board, not a team of scientists, it was marketing. Back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, companies like Kellogg's were basically saying, hey, people aren't eating enough in the morning, but we have warehouses full of crunchy wheat bits. What if we convince the world that eating at 7 a.m. is mandatory for survival? And it worked. Generations grew up believing that missing breakfast was basically signing a death certificate. But here's the twist. Your body doesn't actually need breakfast at all. Not in the life depends on it sense. In fact, there's actual science showing that skipping breakfast might even have benefits for some people, like improving insulin sensitivity or helping you maintain weight. Intermittent fasting, anyone? Basically, the whole idea that your day falls apart without an omelet is more cultural brainwashing than biological fact. Think about it. Humans have existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Do you really think cave people were rolling out of bed looking for an all-you-can-eat buffet of eggs and toast before they went to go fight saber-toothed tigers? No. They probably didn't eat until they found food, which could be hours into the day. And guess what? They didn't spontaneously combust because they skipped a muffin. Now, don't get me wrong. Breakfast can be nice. Pancakes, waffles, bacon, that's joy on a plate. But the point is, it's not some magical life elixir. It's just food, and the timing doesn't matter as much as companies wanted you to think. Some people function better with breakfast, sure. Others don't. But the myth that breakfast is the most important meal of the day is like saying wearing socks is the most important part of fashion. Like, okay, it's fine, but no one's going to die without them. Here's the kicker. The whole myth got reinforced by one of history's most successful marketing campaigns. In the 1920s, a PR man named Edward Bernays, also known as the father of public relations, was hired to boost bacon sales. He convinced doctors to sign off on the idea that a hearty breakfast with bacon and eggs was healthy. Thousands of doctors agreed, because back then science and advertising were basically Tinder swiping each other in the dark. The message spread, and suddenly, breakfast is essential became gospel. Fast forward to today, and you still hear it repeated as if it's carved in stone somewhere next to the 10 Commandments. Except the commandment was really just, thou shalt buy more Frosted Flakes. So next time someone scolds you for skipping breakfast, just remember, you're not breaking a law of biology, you're just disappointing Tony the Tire. Basically, the most important meal idea is about as real as a toothpaste commercial promising your life will change if your teeth sparkle. Eat when you want, not when Kellogg says you should.
Number 9. Carrots give you supervision. You've probably heard it a million times. Eat your carrots and you'll see in the dark like some kind of orange-fueled night vision superhero. Parents used it, teachers said it, cartoons practically made Bugs Bunny the ambassador of perfect eyesight. But spoiler, this one's less about nutrition and more about World War II propaganda. Yeah, carrots were a weapon of deception. Here's what really went down. During World War II, the British Royal Air Force didn't want the Germans to figure out they were secretly using radar technology to track enemy planes at night. So instead of saying, oh yeah, we've got this super high-tech invention that lets us see you coming from miles away, they told the public that their pilots were eating tons of carrots, which gave them crazy night vision. And people bought it. The story spread like wildfire. Civilians started eating more carrots, thinking they too would be able to drive at night without headlights or spot their neighbors sneaking extra rations. And here's the awkward part. People are still repeating the myth. Parents still tell kids that carrots will give them laser-sharp vision. Meanwhile, those kids are just trying to figure out why their glasses prescription hasn't magically evaporated after 10 years of chomping raw carrot sticks like bugs. Now, here's the actual science. Carrots are high in beta-carotene, which your body converts into vitamin A. Vitamin A is important for eye health. Without it, you could develop serious vision problems like night blindness. But notice the difference. It prevents things from going wrong. It doesn't turn you into a hawk-eyed mutant. Eating carrots isn't going to give you X-ray vision, night vision, or predator-style heat vision. At best, it just helps your eyes not fall apart. That's it. It's like drinking water. Sure, it keeps you alive, but you're not going to suddenly breathe underwater because you had 8 glasses. Carrots keep your eyes functioning. They don't upgrade you to superhero mode. The funniest part is how sticky this myth has been. It survived decades after the war ended, despite being rooted in literal propaganda. Imagine if other wartime lies stuck around like that. Eat more potatoes and you'll never be sad again. Or drink tea every day and you'll survive nuclear blasts. That's basically the level of logic we're talking about. So next time someone hands you carrots and tells you they'll improve your eyesight, you can say, actually, no, that was just a cover story so the Allies could keep using radar without the Nazis catching on. And then watch them question every life decision they've ever made. In the end, carrots aren't miracle eye juice. They're just orange sticks that crunch. If you like them, eat them. If not, your eyesight won't suddenly implode. Just don't expect to be able to spot an owl in pitch black darkness because you had an extra helping at dinner. Basically, your vision is safe, but the only thing carrots really do is dye your fingertips orange if you eat too many. And that's not supervision, that's just embarrassing.
Number 8. Cracking your knuckles causes arthritis. Ah yes, the sound of doom. Pop, pop, pop. The soundtrack of every bored student, anxious office worker, or that one guy who just wants to annoy everyone in a quiet room. And of course, the terrifying follow-up. Stop that, you'll get arthritis! This little myth has been haunting finger poppers for generations. Parents, teachers, random strangers at bus stops, all sworn protectors of joint health, apparently. Here's the deal. Cracking your knuckles does not cause arthritis. It just doesn't. What you're actually hearing is gas bubbles collapsing inside the synovial fluid in your joints. Yeah, it's basically your joints farting. The pop is just nitrogen bubbles releasing. It's not your bones grinding together like rusty gears on their way to an arthritic apocalypse. And get this, scientists have actually tested this. One legendary doctor, Donald Unger, spent 60 years cracking the knuckles on just one hand, leaving the other hand as a control. When he finally compared them, there was zero difference. No arthritis, no curse, no skeletal revenge from the universe. The man literally sacrificed 60 decades of his life to prove your grandma wrong. And he even got an Ig Nobel Prize for it, which is basically the Nobel Prize's weirder, nerdier cousin. So why do people still believe it? Probably because the sound is so unsettling. That wet pop is like nails on a chalkboard for the skeleton. People hear it and assume damage must be happening. It sounds destructive, so it must be destructive. But that's like saying opening a soda can ruins the can. Sure, it's loud, but nothing broke. Now, to be fair, if you crack your knuckles aggressively all the time, you might notice some swelling or a weaker grip. But that's from overuse, not arthritis. It's like typing too much or holding your phone 14 hours a day. Wear and tear exists, but it's not arthritis. The whole arthritis warning is just a scare tactic folklore that got repeated until it calcified into common sense. Here's the irony. You're more likely to damage your joints by not moving them enough. Sitting still all day, never stretching, letting your body turn into a human statue. That's what actually sets you up for stiff, cranky joints later in life. Cracking them? Harmless. Weirdly satisfying. And, depending on the room, an excellent way to assert dominance. So, the next time someone scolds you for knuckle cracking, just tell them you're releasing nitrogen pressure from your synovial capsules. Watch their face implode as they try to process whether you're a genius or just messing with them. Either way, you win. Basically, the myth that knuckle cracking leads to arthritis is like blaming yawning for lung disease. It's loud, it's annoying, but it's harmless. Unless, of course, you do it during a job interview, in which case you might not get arthritis, but you will get unemployment.
Number 7. Shaving makes hair grow back thicker. Here's a classic bit of body horror folklore. If you shave your arms, legs, or face, the hair will come back thicker, darker, and angrier, like it's holding a grudge. Parents warn teenagers about it. Friends whisper it like a curse, and every 13-year-old boy who shaved once and then saw stubble thought he had just unleashed Wolverine powers. But let's clear this up. Shaving does not, I repeat, does not change the thickness, color, or growth rate of your hair. What actually happens is way less magical and way more boring. When you shave, you cut the hair straight across at the surface. That leaves a blunt tip. So when it grows back, it feels coarser and looks darker because it's no longer a soft, tapered end. It's like trimming a pencil. The edge feels sharper, but the pencil itself isn't bigger. Think about it. If shaving actually made hair thicker, bald guys would have figured this out decades ago. Every man on Earth would just be shaving their heads daily to grow back glorious lion mans. But nope, baldness is still here, and shaving is still just cosmetic landscaping. Here's where it gets funny. This myth was actually busted in the 1920s. Scientists literally shaved men's faces and measured the regrowth under microscopes. Spoiler, no change. But the myth survived anyway, because apparently once a lie enters the beauty industry, it never dies. It just gets recycled on TikTok with new filters. And the cultural paranoia is wild. People avoid shaving their arms because they think they'll end up looking like Bigfoot. Teens avoid shaving their upper lip because they're scared of growing a mafia mustache overnight. Meanwhile, the actual science says your follicles don't care what you do on the surface. They're buried in the skin, doing their own thing, unaffected by your razor shenanigans. Want to know what really makes hair thicker? Hormones, genetics, aging. Basically things you can't control with a $3 disposable razor. Shaving is just a temporary illusion like Photoshop for your skin. It doesn't rewrite your DNA. And here's the kicker. People cling to this myth so hard that when you tell them the truth, they don't believe you. They'll say, well, it feels thicker. Of course it does. Blunt edges feel rougher. That's physics, not biology. It's like cutting grass. The lawn doesn't suddenly become supercharged mutant grass because you mowed it. It just looks spiky until it grows out again. So the next time someone warns you that shaving will transform you into Chewbacca, just smile, grab a razor, and remind them, if it worked like that, we'd already have invented the cure for baldness. Spoiler, we haven't. Basically, shaving doesn't make hair thicker. It just makes people sound dumber when they insist it does.
Number 6, you need to drink 8 glasses of water a day. If you've ever seen a wellness blog, a gym poster, or that one overly hydrated coworker carrying a gallon jug everywhere, you've heard it. Drink 8 glasses of water a day. Like it's a sacred commandment. Forget flossing or paying taxes. If you don't hit 8, apparently your kidneys explode and you dry up like a raisin. But here's the inconvenient truth. The 8 glasses rule has no real scientific basis. None. Zip. It just sort of appeared. Some think it came from a 1945 US government report that said adults need about 2.5 liters of water a day. But here's the kicker. The report also said most of that water comes from food. Yeah, fruits, veggies, soups, even coffee. But people conveniently ignored that part and just started chanting 8 glasses. So now we have an entire culture walking around chugging water bottles like it's their job. People are literally setting alarms to remind themselves to drink, as if their throats suddenly forgot how to feel thirsty. Newsflash, your body has this nifty built-in alert system called thirst. Revolutionary concept, I know. If you're thirsty, drink. If you're not, don't force-feed your bladder. Let's make this clear. Yes, dehydration is bad. Nobody's denying that. But for the average person just living their life, eating regular food, drinking tea or coffee, you're already getting water. You don't need to micromanage your intake like you're programming a Tamagotchi. Ironically, drinking too much water can actually kill you. It's called water intoxication, where your cells get so diluted your cells basically drown. And yet no one warns about that. They're just like, stay hydrated, queen. Meanwhile, you're over there wondering why you've peed 19 times today. And don't even get me started on the clear pee is the goal crowd. If your urine looks like bottled water, congratulations. You're not hydrated, you're just overhydrated. Your kidneys are screaming, please stop. Slightly yellow pee is actually healthy. But tell that to the hydration influencers and they'll look at you like you just insulted Beyonce. The reality is, water needs vary. Climate, activity, diet, body size, all of it matters.
The one-size-fits-all 8 glasses thing is like telling everyone they should wear the same shoe size. Some people need more, some need less. So next time you feel guilty because you only had 6 glasses instead of 8, relax. Your body isn't keeping score. You're not going to turn into sand. Trust your thirst. It's been working for humans for, I don't know, a couple 100,000 years. Basically, the 8 glasses a day rule is less health advice and more cultural fanfiction. Drink when you're thirsty, stop when you're not. And maybe don't carry around a water jug the size of a fire hydrant unless you're planning to fight dehydration in a desert.
Number 5. You only use 10% of your brain. The granddaddy of pop science nonsense. The myth that your brain is basically a luxury condo where 90% of the rooms are empty. Movies love it, self-help gurus live off it. The idea goes like this. Imagine if you could unlock the hidden 90% of your brain power. You'd be a genius, or maybe telekinetic, or at the very least you'd finally understand IKEA instructions. But reality check, you use all of your brain, pretty much all the time. Brain scans prove it. If you were only using 10%, the other 90% would be dead weight. And if that were true, evolution would have axed it centuries ago. Nature doesn't hand out free real estate. If your brain didn't use that space, it would have shrunk faster than your motivation on Monday mornings. So where did this myth even come from? Probably from a mix of old neuroscience misunderstandings and, surprise, surprise, people oversimplifying. Early brain researchers noticed that not every neuron fires at once, which is true, but that doesn't mean 90% of your brain is just sitting there knitting scarves while the other 10% runs the show. It's more like a city. Not every building has its lights on at the same time, but they're all useful. And the kicker? This myth has fueled endless nonsense industries. Brain unlocking programs, shady supplements, self-help books with titles like Tap into Your Hidden Mind Power. Basically, it's been a goldmine for anyone selling snake oil in a pill bottle. People eat it up because it makes them feel like superheroes waiting to happen. Spoiler, you're not Professor X. You're just a human with a normal, fully used brain that's already juggling a ridiculous amount. Breathing, moving, remembering your Netflix password, regretting things you said in 7th grade. Now, don't get me wrong, your brain is weirdly powerful. It runs on the same amount of energy as a dim light bulb, yet it controls every thought, emotion, and bad dance move you've ever done. But that power isn't hiding in some locked 90% vault. It's already in use, constantly. Even while you sleep, your brain is buzzing with activity, filing memories, repairing tissue, and occasionally tossing you dreams about showing up to work naked. The funniest part is, if you actually were only using 10% of your brain, the rest of your body wouldn't work. You'd forget how to swallow or breathe, which means the people pushing this myth are technically asking you to believe you're walking around with a giant, useless slab of meat in your skull that evolution decided to keep around just in case. Yeah, sure, that makes sense. So the next time someone says, we only use 10% of our brains, hit them with this. If that's true, then explain why getting hit on the head makes people forget their own name. If 90% of the brain was useless, concussions wouldn't matter. But guess what? They do. Basically, this myth is less science and more sci-fi fan fiction. You're already using your whole brain. The problem isn't that you have untapped superpowers. The problem is that your brain spends way too much of its energy remembering every embarrassing thing you've ever done instead of focusing on world domination. Number 4. Sugar makes kids hyper. Picture this, a birthday party, a dozen kids running around like caffeinated squirrels. Parents sighing, well, that's the cake talking. It's practically parenting gospel. Give kids sugar and they'll go berserk, bouncing off walls, summoning demons with pixie sticks. Except, nope, sugar doesn't cause hyperactivity at all. This one's a pure placebo effect, but for parents. Studies have tested it again and again. Give one group of kids sugary snacks, give another group sugar-free snacks, and parents still report the sugar group as acting wild. But when scientists actually measured the kids' behavior, no difference. The hyperactivity is all in the eye of the already exhausted parent. So why does this myth survive? 2 reasons: timing and expectations. Birthday parties, Halloween, family gatherings. All the moments kids get sugar are also times they're already excited, overstimulated, and full of energy. Sugar just happens to be there as the scapegoat. It's like blaming the decorations instead of the DJ when the party gets rowdy. And parents expect it.
They see a kid eat a cupcake and then the kid runs around, so naturally it must be the frosting's fault. It's classic confirmation bias. You notice the chaos after sugar, not the dozen other times your kid went full Tasmanian devil with zero candy in their system. The actual effect of sugar, though, a quick blood sugar spike followed by a crash. If anything, sugar makes you more tired afterward, not hyper. It's basically a fast pass to crankiness, which, to be fair, looks like hyperactivity when you're 6 years old and don't know how to articulate, "I'm crashing." Marketers love this myth, of course. That's why sugar-free snacks aimed at kids are everywhere, sold to parents terrified of unleashing chaos. Ironically, the sugar-free versions often replace sugar with artificial sweeteners that might mess with gut bacteria or taste perception. But hey, at least little Timmy isn't bouncing off walls, right? Except he was never bouncing because of sugar in the first place. Here's the kicker. Parents in studies who were told their kid ate sugar rated the kid as more hyperactive, even if the kid actually didn't have sugar. The belief alone changed how they saw behavior. So basically, sugar doesn't make kids hyper. Parents' belief in sugar makes them think kids are hyper. That's right, the real sugar rush is inside your head. So next time you see a sugar-fueled birthday party meltdown, remember, it's not the cake. It's just kids being kids. And maybe the fact that you crammed 20 of them into one house with balloons, noisemakers, and a bouncy castle. Sugar is innocent. Chaos is just childhood. Basically, the sugar rush is the Bigfoot of nutrition myths. People swear it's real, but every time science goes looking for it, it's just dads in gorilla suits.
Number 3, going out with wet hair makes you sick. It's late, you've just showered, your hair's damp, and you step outside. Suddenly, your mom's voice materializes from thin air. You're going to catch a cold! As if wet hair is a disease magnet and the universe is just waiting to punish you for not using a blow dryer. Spoiler, wet hair doesn't make you sick. Viruses do, and unless your hair is secretly smuggling rhinoviruses, you're safe. This myth has been around forever, probably because colds tend to happen in winter, the same time people walk around with damp hair in the cold. Correlation is not causation, but try explaining that to your grandma while she's forcefully towel drying your skull. Here's the science. Colds are caused by viruses like rhinoviruses and coronaviruses. You don't just spontaneously generate a cold because your head is chilly. Sure, being cold can stress your body a little, maybe even reduce immune efficiency for a short time, but it doesn't create viruses out of thin air. You have to actually be exposed to one. Walking outside with wet hair is just uncomfortable, not a death sentence. In fact, studies have tested this. They've had groups of people sit in cold, damp conditions, even with wet clothes, and compared them to warm groups. Guess what? No difference in who got sick, unless, of course, someone actually exposed them to a virus. Which means you could technically walk outside with dripping hair in a snowstorm and still not get sick unless some guy sneezes directly into your mouth. So why do people cling to this myth? Probably because it's simple and easy to remember. Don't go outside with wet hair sounds like a solid protective rule. Avoid airborne viral transmission in crowded enclosed spaces is less catchy. Also, blaming wet hair makes you feel like you can control your health with a blow dryer, instead of admitting you're powerless against random germs floating around. Here's the irony. The one way wet hair might mess you up is by making you cold enough to shiver, which burns extra energy. If your body's already fighting off an infection, that extra stress could make symptoms feel worse. But that's not the same as saying wet hair causes illness. It just makes you uncomfortable while your immune system does its thing. Basically, blaming wet hair for colds is like blaming ice cream for heartbreak. Sure, they often show up together, but one didn't cause the other. So the next time someone panics because you stepped outside with damp hair, tell them you're not summoning the flu. You're just living dangerously, like a rebel with conditioner still in your bangs.
Number 2. Sitting too close to the TV will ruin your eyes. Every millennial and Gen Z kid knows this one. You're 6 inches from the TV watching cartoons, and suddenly your parents morph into optometrists. Back up! You'll go blind! According to them, sitting too close was basically scheduling a future appointment with the Seeing Eye Dog Association. But surprise, sitting close to the TV doesn't ruin your vision. The myth probably started back in the 1960s when early color TVs really did emit higher levels of radiation than what's considered safe today. Yeah, good times. Families were basically microwaving themselves for the Brady Bunch. Manufacturers fixed that pretty quickly, but the paranoia stuck around. Parents kept yelling, "Don't sit so close," even though modern TVs don't emit radiation like that anymore. Science says sitting close won't damage your eyes permanently. What it will do is make your eyes work harder. Staring at anything close up, book, phone, TV, laptop, forces your eye muscles to stay contracted. Do that long enough and you'll get eye strain, headaches, or feel like your eyeballs are doing push-ups. But it's temporary. Rest your eyes and boom, you're back to normal. No blindness, no mutant vision. And here's the kicker. Kids often sit close not because they're destroying their eyes, but because their eyes are already good at focusing up close. Kids can lock in on a screen from 3 inches away without much strain, so they do it. If anything, the fact that you wanted to sit right against the TV as a kid might have just been your tiny brain screaming, "Bigger SpongeBob!" So why does this myth survive? Probably because it's convenient. Parents don't like kids hogging the TVs, so they invented a fake health scare to back up their authority. "Move back or you'll go blind" works way better than "move back because I want to see." And like most parenting lies, it's spread faster than Wi-Fi. The irony, in the modern world, if anything is wrecking your vision, it's not the TV. It's the endless hours spent staring at phone screens 2 inches from your face. Nearsightedness is on the rise worldwide, and smartphones are a bigger culprit than cartoons ever were. But sure, keep blaming Bugs Bunny reruns. So no, sitting close to the TV won't fry your retinas. Worst case, you'll just look like the little gremlin parked directly in front of the screen, which honestly is still a solid childhood memory. Basically, the myth is less about health and more about parents trying to get their kids out of the way, which makes sense because nothing ruins TV time like watching it through the silhouette of a 6-year-old's giant head.
Number 1. Going out in the cold without a coat will make you sick. You've heard it since childhood. You step outside without a jacket and boom, your mom declares you'll catch your death, as if chilly air is secretly filled with microscopic flute ninjas waiting for bare arms. But here's the twist. Cold weather doesn't cause colds. Viruses do. If your immune system hasn't been introduced to a virus, standing in a snowstorm won't magically invent one. The myth makes sense on the surface. Colds and flu spike in winter, so people assume the temperature itself is the culprit. But the real reason? Viruses spread more easily in cold, dry air. People also crowd indoors when it's freezing, sharing air, coughing, sneezing, and basically marinating in each other's germs. It's not the cold air outside, it's the warm, poorly ventilated air inside. Now, does being cold affect your body? A little. Extreme cold can stress your system, narrowing blood vessels and making it slightly harder for immune cells to patrol your nose and throat. That can give viruses a tiny edge if you're already exposed. But again, it's not the cold creating sickness, it's just giving germs a better playing field. Think about it. If cold air itself caused illness, people living in Antarctica would constantly be bedridden. Meanwhile, folks in tropical climates would never get sick. Spoiler, people in the tropics get colds too. Viruses don't check the thermostat before moving in. The funniest part is how much guilt this myth carries. Forget wash your hands or don't share drinks. Parents made the real battlefield about whether or not you zipped your jacket, as if your human immune system is so fragile it collapses the second you feel a breeze on your neck. Meanwhile, your body is out here fighting off millions of microbes daily without you even noticing. Here's the truth. Not wearing a coat just makes you cold. That's it. You'll shiver, your teeth will chatter, and you'll regret your fashion choices. But you won't automatically wake up with the flu. If anything, the only thing you'll catch outside is judgment from your grandma. So the next time someone says, "bundle up or you'll get sick," just smile and say, "Actually, I'll only get sick if you cough on me." Then step outside, coat-free, like the rebel you are. Basically, the cold doesn't make you sick. People do, which is way creepier if you think about it. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.